Hey guys, so today I'm going to talk about the infamous bed race on the Camino de Santiago. Essentially what this is that if you walk the Camino Frances between about April and October, you're probably going to find a day where the albergues are full, where you have to stay in a private albergue because the municipal is full, where you have to spring for a pension because all the albergue beds are full. Pretty much anytime you go throughout this peak season, it's a possibility. It just depends how many people are walking at the same time as you. You can find yourself in like a crowded group and then there's like a lull behind you, so if you slow down a little bit, you wouldn't have the same problem, but it really just depends. You can never know for sure. I get asked a lot of questions about this, so I thought I would just give you kind of some tips and tricks to either avoid the bed race or to win the bed race. First thing that you could do is that you could walk not the Camino Frances, you could walk one of the other Camino routes. They're not as popular, not as populated. They have fewer beds, but not as many people vying for them, so chances are you're not going to face this problem. It's mainly a Camino Frances thing. Another thing to think about is that on the Camino Frances, the majority of the albergues are actually private albergues, so they're private businesses, and you can make a reservation, which solves the entire problem right there. It does take away the spontaneity of like, oh, I'm gonna start walking this morning and we'll see where I feel like stopping, because you do, you would call the day before and know where you're ending the next day. But it's definitely something to think about because that just, it takes the stress away. You don't have to worry about like beating the rush to get a bed. Essentially municipal albergues, they're cheaper, but you can't make reservations and they fill up by far the fastest. But there's nothing wrong with staying in private albergues. I don't think anybody would walk the entire Camino and never stay in a private albergue. It's kind of, they're completely necessary. They're there for a reason. And they're an entirely authentic way to do the Camino. It's not like less authentic than staying in the municipal ones or whatever. They're very similar. Oftentimes they'll be much kind of higher quality than the municipal ones, which ideally is why you're paying more. If you do make reservations, make sure you keep them or cancel them if you can't make it so that you're not taking up more beds than you should be. Since the whole problem is there's not enough beds. Another thing that you can do is, like I said, you can win the bed race. So essentially just get up earlier than people, or get up, with the early risers and start walking early and you'll get there earlier. Essentially just don't be the last person out of the albergue, because then you're probably gonna face this problem. It doesn't mean that you have to rush or not smell the roses, just don't take a 2-hour break or sleep in really late or anything and you'll probably be okay. Another thing that you can do to avoid the crowds is to avoid the Joan Brierley stages. This is like the Camino Bible. Everybody has this. You don't really need it. Don't think that you need this to do the Camino. You don't need a guidebook to do the Camino. But a lot of people have this, and he has all these handy dandy stages all laid out for you to tell you walk from here to here and then here to here. I stayed in a lot of the places that he recommends because he recommends them for a reason. They're nice places, but the towns that he recommends to stay in are generally going to be more popular just because so many people take his word for it. If you kind of find yourself in between his stages, it will probably be less busy for you and you won't have as many people fighting for the same beds as you. So, hypothetically, imagine that you get to the town that you're going to stay in. The municipal is full. You go to a couple of the private ones. They're full. What do you do next? Something that you can do is you can look for the pensions or the hotels, which are obviously going to be more expensive, but it can be nice to have a little bit of a break sometimes. If those are all full, there are some other things that can happen as well. Sometimes if the albergues notice that it's really becoming a problem, they'll start putting mattresses down on the floor and stuff for pilgrims to stay on, or they'll help you find accommodation in the next town. You might find yourself walking a little bit longer if you want to, or taking a taxi or a bus, but there's always going to be something. It might not be ideal, but the Camino provides. Don't bring a floor mat. A lot of people do that so that if something is full, they can just, put their floor mat down and offer to sleep on the floor. But that might save you like one night of discomfort, but you're carrying it for 5 weeks and you see so many of them abandoned on the Camino because it's just not a good idea unless you regularly plan to be the last person into town. It's not really pragmatic. But that's just my 2 cents. Let me know what you think about the Camino bed race. It frustrates me that we're at this point now that the Camino is so popular that this is a thing, but c'est la vie. More people are discovering the Camino with good reason, so I hope this has been useful and I'll talk to you guys very soon. Bye.